here, and I'm back with another video for Ophelia Talks. And today we're going to do an experiment. But before I explain the experiment and tell you what to do, I would like to tell you why we are doing this. Because it impacts your projects that you do for Ophelia Talks. So when I start a video, I generally say, and I used this hook. And generally that will be the hook 3.5. And then I say, but you use the hook that you usually use for this yarn. And of course, hook sizes, because of tension, can be different. So we might all be using the same yarn, but you might need a different hook. And this is what we are going to sort out today in this video. You will find out how to work out which hook you should be using for the Ophelia Talks crochet projects so that you get the same dimensions and you use approximately the same amount of yarn. Okay, so this is DK yarn and it is prescribed for a 4mm hook. Where does it say? Here. I couldn't find it then. Okay, 4mm hook. But I never use a 4mm, I use a 3.5, as you know. So if I were to use this yarn, a DK yarn prescribed for a 4mm hook, I would be getting this result. I will give you this pattern in a moment. I will show you how to do this in a moment as well, okay? And to be honest, I don't like the look of this. I think the holes are too big and the stitches are all floppy and they don't look very nice and tight at all, okay? So this is my result with a 4 hook with the same DK yarn, okay? Now, if I was to use a 4.5, look at this. The holes are even bigger. I am pulling it now, but even so, the holes are even bigger. The stitches are even floppier and just, they look untidy. And these two looks I don't like. So then I tried a 3.5 and look at this. Look at how lovely this looks. The holes are not too big. When I pull it, it doesn't come apart like these ones do. Look, I'm pulling the same amount and they look so nice. The stitches look nice and tidy. They look uniform. This is the look that I like, and this is why I am using a 3.5 in my projects, because this is the type of fabric, this is the type of tidiness of stitch definition that I am looking for. Now, of course, you can do the same experiment, and we're going to do that in a moment, and you will end up with 3 different sizes of squares. So today, you'll need your tape measure. You will need 3 different hooks. So I'm using a 3.5, a 4 and a 4.5. And you will need a ball of yarn. You will use the same ball of yarn for this experiment, for making the 3 squares. So you will be making 3 squares according to the pattern which I have published in the description box. So go and have a look in the description box. I will go through it with you in a moment. You will find the pattern for this square there. So this is a 4 round granny square. There are only chains in the corner, so no chains in between the clusters, and we start with a 4 chain to start with. So if you make this same square 3 times, each time using a different hook, you will be able to find out which one it is that's going to be the same size as my one here, the one that I make with a 3.5, and you will be able to make your projects, or at least the ones that I have designed, the Ophelia Talks projects, to the same size and the same dimensions, the same yarn usage as I have. But of course you will have to remember that that is that particular hook that you will be using. It could be a 4, it could be a 4.5, it could easily be a 3.5 as well. So depending on your tension, one of your squares will be about the same size as my one that I make with a 3.5. So the hook that you used for the square, that's the same dimensions as mine. That's the one that you will be using for Ophelia Talks projects, and that will give you the same results. So first of all, let me show you how to make the square so you can get started on your experiment. I am now going to get started on round 1. So a slip knot, insert your hook. I'm going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then we go back to the first chain, go into it and do a slip stitch closing the circle. So we've made a little circle. Now we're going to do a chain 2, 1, 2 and 2 more double crochets into the circle, and then we chain 2, and now we do 3 double crochets into the circle. So a double crochet is yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And it might be worth noting that I use American terminology. 1, 2 chains after our 3 double crochets, another lot of 3 double crochets. There we go, we've got 3 lots now, 2 corners, 1, 2 chains for another corner, another lot of 3 double crochets. This is now our 4th cluster, 1 and 2 chains. There we go, that's what we've got. And now here we go under the V and close the round. I'm going to do 2 slip stitches just to advance to the better location to start my next round. So for round 2, we're going to do 2 chains, 1, 2, 2 double crochets, 2 chains. So that's our first cluster done, and 3 double crochets in that same chain space. In this round we are just making corners of 3 double crochets, 2 chains and 3 double crochets. So we go to the next corner and we do exactly the same thing. So as you can see, I've already made my 2 other squares with my other hooks, and I am not liking them. They are too loose, the stitch definition is kind of lost, and the holes are just too big. So at the moment I am just making the squares, same pattern, with different sized hooks, so I can see which fabric I like the best. And here we go, I've done another corner, see, and now on to the last one. Now I do know tension can vary, even in a person, if you're tired or if you're stressed, but even so, making sure that you have a result that resembles mine when you do my projects, I think that would help. Certainly when we do a cal and you've got 15 balls for a blanket and you want to make sure that you don't run out. So there we go. So these are my first 2 rounds. Let me just put these aside here because it's difficult to see otherwise. So first 2 rounds done. So let's do round 3. Same thing again. We are going to do a couple of slip stitches, just advancing to the chain space there, making it a better location to get started. And this time we're doing the same thing again. 2 chains, 2 double crochets, 2 chains, and then 3 double crochets. And of course we're doing those 2 chains to get started because they count as our double crochet, of course. There we go. Voila. And now, of course, as well, we need to put a cluster on the side. So you place 3 double crochets in between the 2 clusters in the row below. There we go. And then here we are at the next corner chain space, where we are going to do another corner of 3 double crochets, 2 chains and 3 double crochets. There we go. And I'm going to continue like this all the way around. Now you might say, oh, making 3 squares, it's really worth doing this. Get out your 3 different hooks, get out a ball of scrap yarn, make these 3 squares and have a look, and you might just be very surprised. Okay. It was great that the moderators did this exercise as well, and we were all very surprised at the results basically. And I would recommend that you do this exercise before you start a CAL. If you've never done a CAL from Ophelia Talks before, it certainly is worth making sure you do this, so you know which hook you should be using to get the best results. And let's close the round. Then we are going to do those slip stitches. We've now done 3 rounds, and let's get going on the 4th round. And of course, in this round we are doing exactly the same as before. The written pattern for this is in the description box below, so make sure you go and find it. And in this round we will be doing 2 clusters on the side, and that's of course in between the corner clusters. Now in a moment we are going to compare the 3 squares that you've made, and you are then going to compare your squares to mine. And then we will be able to see which hook size will be the best for you to achieve the same dimension of square. And it might be worth making a note of it somewhere, so you know which hook size you best use for the Ophelia Talks projects. Now also, when I say I have gone up a whole hook size, that means I go up from my 3.5, from my hook that I usually use. So if your hook that you usually use is a 4.5, for instance, and I say I've gone up a whole hook size, so I have then gone up from 3.5 to 4.5, you will then have to go up from 4.5 to 5.5. Okay, so you start from your baseline. This here, 3.5, this is my baseline, this is my 0. Okay, and that's where I go up or down, and often I will go up for a shawl to make it looser and lacier, and then I don't mind the lacy stitches so much. I don't mind, but that's a particular look you're looking for then. Okay, sometimes people ask me, why do your clusters look so nice? Why is your blanket looking so not holy? It's because I chose the fabric that I liked. Some people might just use the hook size that is prescribed, which is fine, of course, and that's how I started. But then I thought, no, I'm going to choose the fabric that I like, not what is prescribed. Okay, so this is the last stitch that I've just done here, skipping the 2 chain, going under the V and closing the round. So here we have it. I have just finished my square. It's 4 rounds. The pattern is in the description box, so do go and have a look. And now we are going to be measuring our squares. So I'm going to be measuring in centimeters first. So this one here is 10.5 centimeters. This one here is about 9.5, and this one here is about 9 centimeters. Okay, so 9 centimeters is about the size of my square, and then if you turn it around it will be 3.5 inches. So which of your 3 squares measures either 3.5 or just about 9 centimeters? Find out the square that you did that's 9 by 9 centimeters. I did that one in my 3.5. Which hook size did you use for your square that is 9 by 9 centimeters? This is the hook size that you will be using. So these are Karen's. Using a 3.5, it's 8 by 8 centimeters. So that's a centimeter smaller than mine. 4mm hook, it's 8.5 by 8.5, so it's still not 9 centimeters. And here, her 4.5mm hook, that gives her 9 by 9 centimeters. So she will be using, to achieve the same size as me, and you see it's still a little bit different, but it's the closest to mine, she will be using a 4.5 hook. Then here we have Teresa, and this one she has done with a 3.5, and it's 8 by 8 centimeters, so it's too small. This one here, 4mm, 8.5 by 8.5. Oh, that's very, very similar to Karen's, okay? So, no, not the 9 by 9 that we need, and here we are. Hook size 4.5, 9 by 9 centimeters. So Teresa's hook size will be 4.5. Then here we have Julie's squares. This is her 4.5, and it's 9.5 by 9.5 centimeters. This is her 4, and it's 9 by 9 centimeters. So this one is the one, and her 3.5 is 8.5 by 8.5 centimeters. Julie will be using a hook 4, and then here we have Emma's squares. I have her paperwork here. So this is the smallest one. That was 3.5, 7.5 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters. Her hook size 4 gave us 8 by 8 centimeters, and the largest one, hook size 4.5, 9 by 9 centimeters. So again, she has to use a 4.5. So this is the point of this video today. Which square is 9 by 9 centimeters or 3.5 by 3.5 inches for you? What hook size did you use? And that will be the hook size that you should be using for Ophelia Talks projects if you want to make sure you are ending up with the same, approximately the same dimensions and the same yarn usage. So I hope you will have found this experiment useful. Make a note of your hook size for the Ophelia Talks project, and hopefully this will help you in the future to decide which hook you are going to be using for my projects. Now, I hope also that doing this experiment can help you make your decisions on the hook size that you are going to be using. So, for instance, if you know that you should be using, for achieving the same dimensions as myself, you should be using, let's say, a 4, okay? But you don't find using a 4 comfortable, you don't find using a 4 produces the look of stitches that you like, so you do decide to go to your usual 4.5 because you were used to using it. That's of course perfectly fine, but this way you know that your project is going to turn out bigger and that it's going to turn out having used more yarn. So if you want to deviate from that hook size that we are deciding upon here in this video, then you know what the consequences are or what they could be. And that is a very useful thing to know as well, of course. So thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you will do the experiment. If you have done the experiment, please let me know your hook size in the comments. So let me know which hook produced the 9 by 9 centimeter or 3.5 by 3.5 inch square for you. Okay, let me know in the comments, and I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you will take part in the experiment, and I hope you will be watching more of my videos and making more of my projects successfully. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!